Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's been a little over a month. Nothing's wrong. I just had a lot of things, good things going on, and I had to focus for a minute. And not that I can be unfocused at this point, but things are more organized. So here I am again. So good to see you guys. Anyway, today we are talking about Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. But before we get into it, got to take care of our sponsors, right? You know, they support us. So, Irby, Worldwide Entertainment. Worldwide means worldwide. You can find them on Facebook. Reach out to them for all of your DJing needs. And I think they do have merch. So go check their page out for that merch. Share Dazzle Salon of Chesapeake, Virginia. They keep Nicole's tresses looking fabulous, darling. They do. They really do. So if you are in the area, go check them out. And we can't forget about Color You Cosmetics. Nicole is a brand sponsor for them. And again, she's always got a nice beat going. So they have locations in Virginia and Georgia. Visit them online. That's Color, spelt the British way, U, the letter U, Cosmetics. They also have MUA school. They'll teach you how to put your makeup on, whole nine. Go check them out when you have a chance. So let's talk about this movie. Let me put my disclaimers out there first. This is not a church bashing session. We're not calling out your pastor or anybody else's pastor. This film is about church culture, and in particular, Black church culture. But church culture, there are things that apply in multiple spaces. So the movie opens up. It's meant to be documentary style. It's meant to be a comedy. But if you know anything about comedy is used to disarm you while telling you about certain truths. Okay, some of those truths are lighthearted and some of them are real serious. And so that's the device that was used with this film. They started out with humor, and then they took the glasses off and said, just look at it unfiltered. This is what we're talking about. And they touched on a lot of things that happened in the church. Now, in Black culture, we laugh about church. It's not mocking God. It's just we recognize some of the peculiar things that we do and say. Example, the one thing that drives me crazy as far as church speak goes is when somebody says, on today. Why are you putting the word on in front of it? Today is more than enough to bring home the point that it's happening today. You don't need to say on, but that's one of those peculiar things, those interesting little nuances that go down in the Black church. So, film opens up with Reverend Lee Childs, pastor of a mega church, big behind building. Got so many pews in there, they got tears. People got to go up in the balcony. Big church. And his wife, Trinity Childs. Now, here's where I say this is not just about Black culture in the church, but about the church in general. The one thing that I noticed through the whole movie that cracked me up was the church face. You're at peace. Nothing's bothering you. People can say the most awful things to you and you'll smile. Just like this. Ain't God good? Did that the whole movie. They kept that up through the whole film. Even when they were throwing shade. And yes, they threw shade. And it was funny when they threw shade. So, yeah, they had the outfits. Okay. Um, okay, so I'm gonna have to put up some pictures so y'all get it. But they nailed the church outfit. Hems of the skirt are below the knees. Get some fluffy shoulders. It's like they never escaped the late 80s there with the fashion. They got stuck in that zone. You have to have a fabulous church hat. I'm not a hat person. I wouldn't know what to do with a hat other than just slap it on there and go. I'm not tweaking and turning. But anyway, all of that stuff, atmosphere, the energy, they nailed that in this film. So when it opens up, we find out that the reason why the Childs are doing a documentary is not because there's anything wonderful happening at their church. It's because Pastor Dunn got caught up in a scandal. And this scandal involved him having inappropriate interactions with some young men from the church. Now, to be clear, they did not spell out what these interactions were, but they let your imagination wander. And so he's trying to get his congregation back because he went from 500 and something people to five members, one family in his church. And so he's trying to bring people back. And so, church smile, they're grinning and they're talking about how wonderful things are. But as you listen to them, you're not hearing them say, you know what? God has kept us. And, this is a hard time, but here are the things we're doing to overcome. No, no, no. They show you the building. They show you the new fountain that they have. They take you into the dressing room of the church and show you all of Reverend Child's clothes in rainbow medical order. They throw out name brands and all of that stuff. And as the documentary continues, you realize that, okay, well, wait a minute. This doesn't hit the check marks for perfect Christian. And they cuss. They listen to rap music. Not the light stuff either. They listen to the rap music as they pull into the parking lot of another church. No, God don't smile on that. There's just a whole lot of things up until about the middle of the movie that it's like, okay, they're putting on a facade. There's a scene where they're filming the Bible study. Everybody's on the front row, and the little girl answers a question, and this is so Black culture in the church. The girl raises her hand, answers the pastor's question, and he's like, oh, yes, you're brilliant, you're talented, all this stuff. And all of a sudden, it breaks out in praise. He says, come here, and he puts his hand on her forehead and starts speaking in tongues, and then pushes her down to the ground. And she lays down, stiff as an ironing board. And she's there for a little while, and then she gets right on up. And she starts shouting, oh, Lord, doing all of that, right? And so when the camera cuts away, while everybody else is in the back throwing their hands up and praising the Lord, shouting, doing the praise dance, the little girl turns to the camera and she goes, I love the theater. Throughout the whole thing, you hear Lee Curtis, the pastor, talking about, oh, we got to get the show back on. He's talking about Sunday services. So it's shining a spotlight on how church can be a spectacle at times. But then at about the halfway point of the film, you start to notice, you pay a little more attention to what Trinity Curtis is going through. Now, from the very beginning, she kind of made little faces and did the church smile through it. This is really awkward. I don't want to do this. Honey, we don't want to talk about that. We want to give the right impression. All of those little side eyes. But then, excuse me, like I said, from about the halfway point on, she's getting more and more sullen. She's still trying to put on the brave front, but she says to the film, I can't say the word. I haven't been able to say words for a few days. She says to the filmmaker, you know, Lee Curtis is the head, but the wife, first lady, it is not a role that anybody really wants. It's hard. It's very hard because while Lee Curtis may be the head, I'm the neck, I'm the spine, I'm the backbone that's holding all of this together. And that starts to get into that serious truth that the comedy end of the film started showing you. Somebody said to her, well, they didn't say to her, it was, they do voiceovers, interviews, where someone said, she's staying with him. She's a strong woman. She's going to be blessed. And it's like, so you got to be in pain to be strong. You can't be strong because something is good and you pushed through or held up or pursued. Those things aren't strength. You gotta lose everything and stand by your man who seems absolutely clueless or blind to what he really needs to do in order to get himself back in social good graces. She was getting frustrated. And by the time they get to the popular scene, I don't think I'm spoiling anything. I hope I'm not spoiling anything for anyone. But by the time they get to the final scene where they bring out Black Jesus, who used to be Santa Claus, but they just painted him and gave him a beard and a Rastafarian wig. By the time they get to the point where she's dancing on the road and holding the sign, honk for Jesus, save your soul, she's at her limit. She's desperate, not necessarily desperate to maintain the church, but desperate to figure out what to do about her marriage, because if she stays, people are already saying she should have known something. She's going to be ridiculed. She's going to be criticized for staying with a man who was not just unfaithful to her, but unfaithful to her with some young boys. And if she leaves, well, now the whole church is going to be against her, because once you marry, you're supposed to stay married. That's not something you enter into lightly. Marriage is a covenant, a contract that you make with your partner and with God. And how dare you break covenant with God? No matter how difficult the situation may be, you just don't. Even her mother said, why is my daughter such a fool? Look at everything that this man has given you. And again, that conversation about material things as blessings comes into play. All in all, I'll give this movie 3.5, 4. Yeah, 3.5, 4, somewhere in there. It's not a horrible movie. It's a comedy. And not everyone is going to appreciate it, because people don't want to be caught criticizing the church / God. But it offers a look at the human end of what's wrong with church. I think a lot of times when people criticize the church, they criticize the structure. But I think it takes a look at the people. Not everyone is really that into it. They have their own way of dealing with it. And unfortunately for Trinity, she just felt trapped. So trapped. And her husband was like, oh no, you're just going to be here. He's taken for granted she's going to be there. So I would say, you know what, if you're looking for something that's kind of easygoing, you can kind of laugh at and enjoy, check the movie out. When it gets serious, it's not like, oh man, just bring down the room. It's there to make you think. The cast in this film was great. Great connection. And I've lost names already, but great connection with the cast. They kept it high energy throughout the whole thing, and you felt like they were really a married couple. So check it out when you have a chance. Heck, find some people to talk about it with, because I mean, this is meant for anyone who has an opinion about the church, and people most definitely have opinions about the church. So that's all I have for today. Make sure you follow our platforms. You can find Nicole at NicoleDeCandice.com. Heck, Google her name. Everything she's doing will pop up. You can find me at nikkeiwrites.wordpress.com. And of course, go check out Don, his page. We don't leave him out of this. At donmiskel.com, and check out his books on Amazon. Just type his name in. Everything he's published or been published in will come up. Okay, so that's the show for today. Going into the month of October, we're going to talk about scary movies and thrillers. At least one of them will be Tales from the Hood. So if you haven't seen it, or you forgot some of it and you want to watch and catch up, all three are on HBO, so go check that out. So until next week, thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you later. Bye.